Practice on the fights. That's crazy that I didn't get it there, though. That's crazy, man. Perfect, like, perfect Emma fight. Played it perfectly. Everything apart from that block was also good on Ishin, but there's actually... I don't know how I'm messing up these, like, little things, dude. I seriously don't know how. I think it's just getting the muscle memory, though. Probably all it is. Easiest to hardest? It's the other way around, so that you don't waste as much time. I don't know, Aziz, did you already, like, accept it? Or... Because if you haven't accepted it, I would assume if you just don't, then... Yeah, mine is $25, too. Yeah. Unfortunate. But you know what, you guys, like, the runs that we've had are very promising. Like, sure, I haven't actually gotten a no-hit today. In, like, 4 runs now, I think it's been. But every single run has made it past... Well, okay, so the first run, I got hit to the second Genichiro because of, like, some weird thing that I didn't know about where I have to actually dodge the 4th arrow. So, with exception to that, I haven't got hit on anything other than... well, I guess the giraffe thing, too. But even then, like, making it to giraffe is not bad. Like, we're not getting hit in the early game is my point. And early game is probably the hardest part about Sekiro No Hit, so... So what I'm saying is that I think we're in actually a good spot right now. Like, almost for sure it's a better spot than I'm at in Bloodborne and Dark Souls 1. And so I think Game 3 still makes sense. It is literally just getting the muscle memory back of the ape fight and the Emma and Ishin fight. And, yeah, that's it. Like, that's literally the only thing. 'Cause I'm not worried about the second Genichiro, really. I've been fighting him pretty well. Just, obviously, that one thing was... I didn't actually know how to dodge out on the 4th arrow. Like, it was a weird meme. And then you know, the giraffe hit was just something I had to learn from. Like, I hadn't been faced with a situation where I had to, like, rotate all the way around him to get the death blow. Because you can't death blow from the back or else the strat doesn't work. The stab is holding R1. So all of those are very easily correctable things. And so the only things that aren't so easy is just the hits on the final 2 boss fights. That's it. Which is good. Like, that's a good sign. Oh, you know what? I guess I got hit. I got hit running to the second Genichiro fight. I kind of forgot about that one. But that is something I also corrected now, I think. Do I like Sekiro? I really like Sekiro. But I do not prefer it over the other Souls games. Maybe I shouldn't have opened the window, dude. I gotta, like, switch to a t-shirt or something, man. I don't know how it's so hot. We need Toyota to bless this run, dude. What we need. You need to kill the first Genichiro because if you get hit by him, that's a hit. So it's not like the grafted Scion in... You also can't just, like, drop off the edge because that doesn't even work. But it's not like the grafted Scion because the Scion, even if you do kill the boss, you have to, like, fall off anyways. But yeah, when people were trying to determine the rules for no-hit Elden Ring, like, there's a big debate on whether the Scion should count as a boss. That you have to fight, I mean. Grafted Scion's not really that hard, but I think it's harder than Genichiro, though. Just because it's a more annoying fight. No, I haven't tried the demo yet, Gleeful. Well, no, that's not how rules are made around that stuff, though, right? The League, and that when I'm determining what rule set I should do, I don't think about whether something is like challenging or not, or fun to do or not. It's like what makes sense. Now, of course, you could do if you wanted to do runs and you were like wanted to do it that way, then that's totally reasonable. But that's not how I do it. Like the least bits here, I explained it earlier, and I'm not going to explain it in full again. But basically, the main thing is that there's not good replayability in the game. That's the main thing. I'm not going to expand on it because I did earlier. There's like quite a few things that contribute to that. WWGD. I don't know. I don't know if that's good to follow what I do because clearly I can't no-hit this game in 5.5 hours of attempting. It's so funny though. There's always like one thing that's coming up. Like there's just one thing in these runs that is messing me up, dude. It's bizarre. Well, there's actually a very good script on Grafted Scion that if you want to kill the boss, it's worth learning. If you're going to start Samurai, that is, because obviously no other class comes as close to Samurai, but yeah, that's true. If you're just like fighting Scion straight up, I think it's a pretty tricky fight. Another step towards perfection. That's probably true, yeah. I genuinely think, though, in a few days, I'm going to be like 90% plus on this game, at least. Maybe more. Maybe 95. Like, where it's almost, I just never get hit in this game. I think that'll come very quickly. Just need a little bit more time, a few more runs, and that will happen. Sekiro is the most replayable game. I guess it depends what you see as replayable. I would say I would definitely disagree with that, but I've seen people say that for Elden Ring, the amount of content in the game makes it less replayable, which I 100% disagree with, but I could also understand why someone would say that, I guess. Like, in my mind, the more content there is to do in the game, that means that the more options you have when you're replaying the game to do whatever you want to. And you're not just forced into the same, like, 10 bosses.
Maybe
every time.
I'll give you the best nut ever.
But I think what they were saying is that there's way too much stuff to do every single run. Which, like, I can understand. I don't agree with it still, but... Because they're like, saying that you got to do everything every time, which you clearly don't, but... Oh, baby. That's okay. That's fine. Inokis. Man, I obviously didn't say that right. Inokis. Thanks for the brand new Prime sub, dude. Thanks so much, dude. But yeah, one thing though that I again, it's like, it's just a matter of opinion what you think is replayable, but I could see somebody saying that Elden Ring is less replayable because, you know, you're encouraged every time you start the game to go and get your character built out before you do anything, right? Which I think that's a good point. I think that's a fair point.
Maybe I'll give you the best nut.
No,
ever.
I just wait. I missed what Coffee said that Spicy Wiener replied to, but I assume Coffee said that there's not like the build variety or something in this game to be worth playing again. I disagree that like AP1 is the same as level 1 plus 0. 100% I disagree, because when you do a run like level 1 plus 0 in the Souls games, you have so many options that are viable, and that's actually why I think those runs are so much fun to do. It's like, okay, this boss you can go with, you know, you could go with your status build, you can go with your high damage build, you can go with your black flame build, you can go with your magic build, which is also super strong. Like, you have so many options that are all around the same amount of strength. Now, that's not true in every single case, I guess, but in most boss cases, that's true. And so I think that's what's fun about it. Whereas if you're doing attack power 1 in this game, it's like, sure, I guess you can fight the bosses differently if you're not going to, like, deflect or whatever, but it's basically the same thing, but just longer. Also, Anonymous, thanks for giving us up to a Solda Bear. Appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, that's just my opinion, I guess. Deflecting does not count as a hit. Bro. So yeah, I guess, like, basically what I was saying is that... Oh my god. There's different... Like, people can have different perspectives on what's replayable and what's not. And in my mind, when there's more bosses, that means I have more options on like, what I want to use different builds on. And I also think, you know, having a lot to do is a good thing for replayability, but I don't know. Like, there's different perspectives on it. I would agree, though, that the biggest downside of Elden Ring with replayability is the fact that you have the option to get, you know, your +9 somber weapon without fighting really, like, anything, right? Or it's like you can go through the same setup process every single time. So, you know, of course, that could be... Like, you can avoid that by doing, like, region-locked runs and stuff, but... You have options. But yeah, if you're someone who's, like, maybe not as experienced with the game and you kind of, like, need those strong weapons to beat bosses or something, then... I don't know. I think that makes sense. But even then, though, it's like not every build has the same setup. If you're doing a sorcery build, it's completely different setup than if you're doing like just a melee build or something. Elden Ring by far. Well, I mean, I guess, but that's not. I'm not really even talking about the amount of time you have to spend on it. But I guess that's maybe a decent point. I guess I'm kind of assuming you have like unlimited time. Yeah, I guess that's a decent point. Yeah, that's totally fair, Croak. I mean, I don't disagree with that. But there's no doubt that I think the combat in this game can be expanded way more. That, like, to a point where it could, to a point where you could have that sort of like build variety that Elden Ring has, but have just better combat in the game. I think adding the jump attacks in Elden Ring was already like, it was a good, oh boy. It was a good start, I think. But they could definitely take it further, and hopefully they do at some point. Okay, so that's just something he does in that corner, I guess, huh? Because he killed one of the runs, now that I think about it, by doing that exact thing he just did. He, like, went into that exact spot and then just instantly did the scoop. So it wasn't even my positioning that was a problem. It was the boss just being fucking stupid. And just wanting to do that in that spot. Yeah, posture is pretty cool. I've been a fan of this type of combat like for a while. That's why I remember when Sekiro came out, I was pretty excited about it. I would like it though. I mean, it'd be cooler if it was more reaction based in this game though than what it is currently. Where like at this point it's all about just like patterns, but having like a reaction-based Souls game would be cool. What I mean by that is, like basically when, like sure, there's like a little bit of reaction in this, but for the most part, it's just, you know, executing a pattern of attacks and then just knowing what attacks the boss has so that you can, you know, like parry it whenever it happens, like the sequence happens. But more reaction-based would be more like bosses have access to more stuff at any given time. Like, so instead of just like big strings of combos, they have different attacks that could be executed and then you just have to react to what happens. Like, ultimately, still there'd be patterns you could find, but it would be more reactionary, I guess. Like, for example, there was a mod in Dark Souls 3 that was absolute garbage that I played, or it wasn't great. It's going blanks, by the way. There's a mod I played, but it had an interesting idea with the Soul of Cinder boss fight, where instead of him just doing like his basic attack chains and stuff, he could kind of just go for a very long time and just string any attacks together. Like, sure, you learn his attacks. I knew all the attacks he could do, but he wouldn't like do an attack and then have a set punish where he just couldn't do any attack chain after that. Like, he would just keep going. And like, sure, it wasn't executed perfectly, but it was still pretty interesting, right? It's an interesting idea that could work. It could work if done properly, I think. So that would be very cool. Like, if Sekiro had that, man, it would just be awesome. But I don't know if FromSoft would ever try something like that. It's kind of hard to explain what I mean, but I think you guys maybe understand. But yeah, the mod was not a good mod. I forget what it was called, but it was not great, but it had an interesting idea on Cinder. Because he could just keep going. And like, I wouldn't say it was done perfectly, because he could go for a very long time and you just couldn't do anything, but like certain attacks you could get a little punish in because, you know, you just have enough time, or No, no, the Beast Clergyman's not like that. Maybe he feels like that at first, but he's not really. Like, he's got all of his attack chains that have, like, just, like, one variation in it, right? Like, okay, he can do this, you know. He does this attack, but then he's got, like, this one thing where he can do a different attack and then continue the chain. Like, it's not... Or continue the attack sequence. It's not, like, really random. Well, it's random, but it's not what I mean. Like, Souls bosses don't have that, really. Not that I can think of. But yeah, that's true. He has mix-ups, not random sequences of attacks. That's what I'm saying. Or I'm trying to say. And so yeah, I'm not saying like it's a bad thing that FromSoft doesn't do that with bosses, but I'm saying it would be very interesting to have a game like Sekiro where it's more of that like reactionary combat rather than just like patterns that bosses do. I think it would make the game way more replayable for me. But maybe, I don't know, like, I think you could do that in a way where it's just not fun to fight bosses potentially because you just never figure them out. Like, it'd probably be insanely fucking hard. Yeah, exactly, Wiener. Yeah, exactly. 100%. It could be hard to make it so that it's not, like, impossible. Yeah, so I guess, yeah, you'd have, like, a set of attacks that a boss can do. But then they could just happen at any time with any, like, timing in a sequence, I guess. Right? I mean, you could even do it more, like, you could even make it more random where the actual speed of the attack is not the same every time. Right? That'd be interesting, too. I don't know if I'd like that, but... Like, so you have an attack, and then you have, like, a couple different speeds that are possible with the attack. And you gotta react to the speed. Like, all of the stuff I'm saying sounds like it'd be so fucking hard, but it'd be interesting. Because then, yeah, because I guess one thing in this game right now I'm demonstrating, I don't have the muscle memory I need for this game to be consistent. But imagine if the game, like, you just couldn't get the muscle memory for stuff because there were just, like, so many options and stuff. So you had to, like, just stay focused the entire time. Yeah, it'd be like a fighting game, exactly, yeah. Yeah, it'd be like a fighting game, but you're against bosses and PvE and stuff. No, I think that'd be really fun. I mean, it'd be stressful, but I think it'd be a lot of fun. And this would have been the perfect game to do it in, where the player doesn't have, like, as many options for builds and stuff, so you kind of know how the player's going to be getting through the game. So it would have been easier to balance stuff like that. Yeah, this is a new ad system, so it's very good for non-subs because then you're just never taken out of the stream. But obviously subs still see it, so it's not quite as good for them, but... It'd be hard to imagine a game like that where the bosses just aren't, like, impossible, you know? At least, I don't know. Yeah, no. Like, I guess what some of the stuff I'm referencing is like in Absolver, right? I attempted to do some no damage on an Absolver a while ago, like a very long time ago, and I routed the game. It was very fun to route for no damage, and it is sort of a little bit of what I'm talking about. Except it was like there were still patterns that bosses did that you would kind of know what's happening, but it was definitely more like what I'm saying than this game. But yeah, so I think the way you would probably balance it to make it more fair, you would have to probably make the game a bit slower, right? So that people could actually react to what's happening. Because if you had attacks at the speed that they happen in this game, I think it'd probably be too fast for people to realistically beat it. And I remember when I was playing that mod that had that like fucking cracked Cinder, I couldn't beat him, dude. Or it took me like hours to beat him. And that, you know, I'm somebody who spent how many hours fighting Cinder, dude? Like such a huge amount of time fighting Cinder. And I couldn't beat him after like 2 hours. And his moves were basically all the same. No, it wasn't Cinder's mod. It was some other overhaul mod that I can't remember. And the mod was honestly really bad for the most part, but it had that interesting idea that stuck with me. Yeah, Hollow Overhaul sounds about right. Yeah. It's just very interesting. And I do think that, yeah, FromSoft could take the next step in their boss fights by adding some of that in, maybe. Although, like, who knows if people would actually like it, because I think a lot of what people have demonstrated over and over and over again with the Souls games is people like when there's, like, intuitive patterns that bosses do. Like, I'm sure if I did, like, if there was some study on bosses that people like in the Souls games, it would skew towards bosses that are simpler. For example, I've heard tons of people say that they like the Erdtree avatars in Elden Ring because, well, they haven't said why, but what I think it is just because it's a boss that's very simple to figure out. And then, you know, if you figure it out quickly, then it's like instantly satisfying because all the moves are very intuitive. So it could be like satisfying to fight them very quickly, whereas a boss like, I don't know, like some other bosses that aren't as intuitive, like Radahn or something, has got these crazy delays people don't like as much. Obviously, that's not like the only thing, but people tend to like simpler bosses a lot of the time. Especially if them being simple doesn't make them like lame or something, so yeah, I think people probably wouldn't like it as much, but I don't know. And like, it's not like I don't fall for the same thing as well. Like, for me, I didn't like the Beast Clergyman at first because I felt like, oh man, this guy's always spamming. I have nowhere to attack. I don't understand him. Until I learned him, and then he's like my favorite boss phase in the game, basically, right? Sort of the same thing. Sorta. I guess not quite. Okay, let's go to here. Pretty Sekiro style boss. I guess in a sense, but in my mind, a Sekiro style boss is one where the player is the aggressor, and Beast Clergyman is not like that at all. Like, that's what I think. When I think of like Sekiro bosses, I think of the play style of the player being the first to attack and stuff. I think that's what's cool about this game, is it's different. Where Souls bosses almost are never like that. So imagine this, right? Imagine you had a game that had, you know, you had some bosses sprinkled in that are like normal Soul style bosses, like a Beast Clergyman or something. where it's about waiting. But then you also had bosses that are, you know, you had to be super aggressive on, like some Sekiro bosses, like, you know, Ishin or just anybody like that, where it's all about being aggressive to make them easier. But then you also had bosses like Bloodborne, where you could have all these limb breaks and manipulate the boss like that, and you just put it all into one game. That'd be kind of cool. Because that doesn't really exist, right? And then you learn none of that because you night come. Whoops. Yeah, maybe. Did that a little with Elden Ring? I don't know. If they did, they didn't do it well. But in Dark Souls 3, right, there's like Greatwood, who's I guess sort of like a Bloodborne boss with his limb break stuff, right? And then you also have like Deacons, who you are the aggressor on Deacons, but that's not what I mean. Like, that's not done well at all. But I can't, in Elden Ring, what boss are you the aggressor on? Like, forget about NPC bosses for a second. Like, I can't really think of any. Like, sure, you can be aggressive on certain bosses, like Horlu, you can strafe around him and do that sort of thing, but ultimately, you're still kind of just waiting for bosses to attack so that you can do something. Again, that's what I mean. I mean, whoa, I almost fell off of that. Making it so that you're not waiting for bosses to do stuff. Oh, yeah, I guess, yeah, Margaret Shackle, but... Yeah, Renala, yeah, to a degree, but just, that's not done well. Like, Renala's not a good boss fight. But that's true. But I think, like, you guys you're saying bosses that you can get, like, attacks on and stuff while they're idling or whatever. That's not really what I mean, though. I mean bosses that, like, you are fully, like, full on the aggressor the whole time. Or maybe not the whole time, but... But, no. Like, there's not really a Souls boss like what I'm talking about. Like, it doesn't exist. Like, even, yeah, Millennia is not like you can be aggressive on Millennia and like go in and attack her and stuff, but ultimately you're still waiting for what she's gonna do. I mean, like, you go in and you basically decide how the fight's gonna go by when you're attacking. Snail. But yeah, to be honest, I don't actually know how that would work in a Souls game, though. It wouldn't work as well. But yeah, I don't think just like being able to stagger the boss out of something is enough, really. Like, I guess that could be one way of doing it. So yeah, I guess like someone said the Alabaster Lords or whatever. Like, I guess you just go crouch poke them all day long. No, Godskin Noble is not really like that. Oh, almost got him. But that would be cool, though. I think that would be cool. If they somehow made a Souls boss that somehow mimicked the playstyle of a Sekiro boss. I can't think of how that would work. As baiting attacks? Oh, 100%. Yeah, yeah. Like, but that's sort of different. That's a different mindset, though, right? No, Pondiv is definitely not like that. I would have to think about how that would work. I haven't thought about that until, like, right now. Oh, I thought he didn't get stunned there. I messed up. Assassin's similar attack from Sekiro. I guess so, but I'm talking about the play style of like fighting a boss, not necessarily just the moveset. Let's go on Q. Yeah, maybe decompose. I don't know. I don't know anything about the Armored Core games, so. How would that even work? Because I don't think just interrupting attacks is enough. Like, that's very... Because, yeah, you can do that to bosses, but it's not, like... It's not what I mean. Or it's not a good way of doing it. Because I guess, in a sense, though, when we're fighting the Sekiro bosses, we're interrupting them, but like, we attack them until they react to what we do, and then... Once that's done, we react to what they do, and then it's like a nice cycle, right? Again, I'm talking about like the you know, a fight like Anichiro. I think he's the best example of that. It's like a good balance of we attack him until he does, and I guess like Emma would be the same, or Ishin would also be similar. You attack them until they react to you, I guess. I don't know how it would work in a Souls game. I'm sure it could. Yeah, I don't know. That's what's very cool, I think, about the boss in this game is like totally different mindset when fighting them. And I think if you go through this game and you have the same mindset of Souls where you're just like sitting there parrying the boss waiting for your opportunity, it's gonna be like it's gonna be harder for you to play the game that way. Right? Am I wrong about that? I don't think so. I don't think I actually ever tried to do that in my first playthrough or anything because or maybe I did, I don't know. Maybe I did do that. Just like trying to wait and trying to see what attacks you parry and stuff, but yeah, really the whole game gets made way easier if you're just the one to attack first in most fights. Eliminate the possibility of a lot of enemies. Not sure what you mean. Well, I think I know what you mean. You're saying, like, you couldn't have as many cool bosses and stuff? Yeah, maybe that's true, but that's why I'm thinking, like, a game that has, you know, those style of bosses sprinkled in occasionally. And then you also have some, like, Bloodborne-style script fights thrown in there, like limb break fights. And then you also have just your standard Dark Souls fights where you're kind of just waiting. and then you punish based on what they do. Like, I think it would be so cool if they made a game that combined all of those playing styles into bosses. Yeah, I think it's interesting when people talk about the combat in a Souls game. I don't think there's no way you could say the combat is interesting in a Souls game when you just look at the mechanics that the character has, or that you can actually perform, right? If you think about just Dark Souls 3, you attack and you roll, and you can parry, but parrying is very rare. So like you can basically just take that out. Essentially, you're rolling and you're attacking. That's the combat. That's the extent of the combat complexity in these games. But what makes it work is the movesets of enemies that you have, like positioning stuff, and you got you know, like combos that you need to know and stuff. That's what makes it actually interesting, rather than just, you know, being as simple as rolling and attacking, even though that's kind of all it is, right? I guess in Elden Ring you throw in jumping too. So it's all about like the movesets of enemies that make the games interesting. I don't know why I said that, but I was thinking about something, but yeah, it's not some like crazy combat system that like a game like DMC has. It's like all about these combos that you do, and there's all these like moves and stuff. I guess we'll see. I mean, we'll see what FromSoft does as their next kind of step in the Souls games, right? How's it going, Diana? And I don't know if Armored Core I would consider to be a step for the Souls games. I guess it might be. I don't know anything about the game, so. But will they improve upon the formula that they've basically done the entire time until Sekiro? Right? And I guess Bloodborne's slightly different as well. But I would love to see an improvement. And if they do make a Sekiro 2, I would honestly be disappointed if it's just the same thing. If there was nothing new introduced and it was just like basically an add-on to Sekiro, I think that would kind of not be great. It wouldn't be what I would be looking for anyways. Even though I like this game a lot. I don't know why I just rested there. I guess I wouldn't be... I would still play it and I would probably still enjoy it, but I think they would just be missing an opportunity. Yeah, I might play Armored Core. I don't know. Honestly, I've been thinking that I wouldn't play it. Did I really mess up here? Oh boy. Lies of P is gonna destroy FromSoft? Really? You think so? That'd be cool. I'd be up for it. Hoods, I appreciate that, dude. How did I whiff both of those hits? Probably the point at which I echo. Yep, good call. Oops. Nice save in phase 1. That's a mistake I probably will never make again. Like going way too far away, and then I didn't even like cancel the recovery, the mortal draw. Like I probably would have been fine if I just canceled it, but luckily I have practiced the ape. When I was first doing runs, I practiced the ape a lot, so. Oh. Oh, hell yeah, Q. I'll definitely check that out. Is it just more consistent, or is it, like, what's the difference? Okay, so is it consistent because it, like, negates the fly attack? Or... I'll check it out. Because I guess I've never actually had issues with the firebomb strat, like missing it. Even though, yeah, I guess usually I take my time to set it up, but... Okay. That sounds pretty cool. Well, see, we're showing the consistency, you guys, because this is our second run in a row to the final boss, I think. It's always nice to see. So yeah, like, this is the thing where, you know, in probably less than a week of just, you know, doing these fights more, we're going to get here, and this is going to be like just a no-hit completion here, basically. Every time. Now, at this point, I've obviously struggled a little bit today, but...
Mine.
Bad RNG fight, but perfectly played. Like, we got some pretty rare situations right there where she did her like side swipe, which doesn't happen too often, but we got it. And then I don't know. Ooh, that was kind of bad. I don't have Yashi sugar? Oh my god, I almost messed it up. I think I forgot to pick one up somewhere. Okay, there we go. Which one did I forget? I think I maybe didn't pick up the one after... Honestly, I have no idea. Yeah, maybe I missed Noble one, yeah. Okay, just extra good practice there then. think it's also the fastest run so far, too. Probably like 47, 30 or something. Okay, there we go. So, I'm feeling really good about Sekiro, man. I'm feeling very good. Based on the runs today, I think I'm feeling... Yeah, like, I think Game 3 makes sense. I think maybe even Game 4 could make sense. Let's see our time. I think 48 to 47:30 sounds about right. Ah, look at that. Even sub 47. It's not bad. Not even bad, dude. Okay, well, there we go. So we have now no-hit all the games since coming back. Unfortunately, this took a bit longer, but we also learned some good stuff. Like, we did learn some good stuff. So I guess... What's next? Bloodborne? Or Dark Souls 1? Dark Souls 1's probably more important, man. I feel worse about Dark Souls 1. But let's do Bloodborne. I think I should do Bloodborne because basically I only did 2 runs of it, right? Like Dark Souls 1, I've no-hit it several times since I came back. I did Dark Souls 1 like I think at least 3 times. No hit. But I've also played it a decent amount. Whereas Bloodborne,